Good morning, everyone. Today on this Feast of Christ the King, I thought I would do some research to see what type of things people today, in this day and age, think about kings. And this is front and center for us because after 70 years of seeing a queen reign on the throne, and she has just passed away, now we have a king in the United Kingdom. So I did some research to see what both Americans think and what British people think about the royalty. It was interesting, in the UK, most older people, senior citizens, have a pretty high view of the monarchy. They want it to stay. But then when you start asking the young adults, especially 18 to 24-year-olds, just a few years ago, many of them said that they have a highly favorable view of the monarchy and they want it to stay. But just within the last couple of years, that percentage has decreased. It was something like 65% said they wanted to keep it just about 8 years ago, and now it's down to about 35%. Not a very favorable view of who a king or a queen is. Of course, we Americans probably could have told them that a long time ago. After all, our country was founded on rebellion against a king. It's kind of in our national DNA to not want to have a king, at least not one who is directly involved in my life and in yours. And then later this week, on Thursday, we're going to be celebrating that day where we gorge ourselves and we remember those people who fled from a king precisely to escape from oppression and tyranny. But it's interesting that even though we Americans probably don't want to have a king, it's just in our background, it's part of who we are, we do have somewhat of a distant fascination with royalty. Just look at the news. It's all over the place. Even though the royalty is over there across the ocean, it's always front and center in our media. We're obsessed with royalty. We like kings and queens, but here's the caveat. We like them as long as they don't have any impact on you and me or make any demands on us. That's the thought that I want everyone to think about this morning. Because today on the Feast of Christ the King, that's often how we look at Jesus. A distant fascination. If you were to ask most people today the question, what do you think of Jesus? You'd probably get one of many different answers. I'll give some of them to you. People will say, he's a wise teacher. He's a good role model for how to live your life. Jesus wasn't hypocritical, but instead practiced what he preached. And he cared for the poor and the oppressed. Now, all of those things are correct. There's nothing wrong with them. But they have nothing to do with you or me. Sure, Jesus was a great teacher. He protected those who were oppressed. But how does that relate to my life and yours? Really, it doesn't. None of those things answer the question, why did Jesus come? Because Jesus didn't come to perform miracles. He didn't come to give teaching. He didn't come to drive out demons. Sure, he did all those things, but the reason why he came was to die and to rescue you and me from a kingdom of darkness and sin, which we're living in right now, and to bring us to a kingdom of light and truth. Jesus was not simply a religious guru, because all other teachers, religious teachers, say, I will show you the way to heaven. But Jesus doesn't say that. Jesus says, I am the way to heaven. Only the ones who come through me attain to the kingdom of heaven. And if Jesus is the way to heaven, then it means we can't have a distant fascination with him. We can't see Jesus as some spectacle off in the distance, that I just like him because he's a good teacher, but he has no impact on my life. That's not. Jesus wants to go a little further than that. He's not like royalty, which is just a spectacle off in the distance, making no demands on your life and mine. Instead, Jesus is in our face, making those demands, wanting to enter into a personal relationship. And you can't have personal relationship with royalty. That's what makes Jesus different. And so here's how Jesus shows his relationship for you and me. Kings don't normally give their lives for people. And yet we have Jesus who's not reigning on a big chair, on a throne. Instead, he's hanging from a cross. Jesus isn't vested in all his royal regalia that you would think a king is wearing. Instead, he's stark naked for all to see. Jesus is not receiving the adulation and praise of the crowd. No, he's being mocked and ridiculed as a criminal. You see, the paradox of Jesus is that as a king, he took on the crushing pressure of my sins and yours, so that you and I would not have to suffer the effects of our sins. What king does that? And that's the difference that Jesus makes. As Pilate had over the cross of Jesus, the King of the Jews, there was only one person who ended up taking that seriously. It was the thief, the one who cried out next to Jesus in his agony on the cross. In the complete opposite of a situation you would find a king in utter agony. And this repentant thief says to the king, "Remember me when you enter your kingdom. Don't leave me. Don't forget me." He was the only one who was thoroughly convinced that this person next to him was truly the king of his life and could help him in his dying hour. Yesterday, I got a phone call from the hospital. And when I showed up, I thought it was just going to be a simple anointing as a person was meeting their final hours. What it ended up being was an adult who had never been baptized. So as I spoke with the parents, and this adult was special needs, they were able to voice their desire that she be baptized. And so as she was in the hospital bed, not in a church where we normally have those things, in a very simple ceremony where she was baptized and promised eternal life, she was able to transition to a different kingdom. Out of this kingdom where we so often have sadness and difficulty and struggle and nothing but pain and sorrow. But to be able to move on to a different kingdom, the one that you and I have been created for. It's that kingdom of paradise that Jesus promises this thief. And he offers it to you and me. But it demands something from us. It demands that we can't treat Jesus as some spectacle out there that we don't entrust our lives to. It demands that you and I not be our stubborn American, selfish, independent persons who think that it's all about me and I'm not going to let anyone else rule my life. It demands that just as the King has laid down his life for me and you, that we lay down our lives for him. I think it'd be good this week for us to ask ourselves the question, who is in charge of my life? Is Jesus the king of my life, or am I? Is it Jesus who is able to sit on the throne of my life, or am I still sitting on it? Am I satisfied with a distant fascination for Jesus? Or am I going to let him get up and personal and be close to me? Don't be afraid this week to let someone else rule your life. It'll be so much better that way.